Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Sydney, the CEO and co-founder of Vessl. Since my training in biomedical engineering, I have been passionate about prosthetic innovation, so I co-founded Vessl to dedicate my life to developing solutions. We are challenging traditional thoughts around disability using a human-centered design approach to deliver a painless experience, starting with amputees. Prosthetists say that poor socket fit, the fit between an amputee's leg and their prosthetic leg, is the biggest problem in prosthetics today. For Vessl's flagship product, our team of engineers and prosthetic leaders designed an automatically adjusting socket, empowering amputees to lead healthier and more comfortable lives. Imagine that you're walking for an hour in the mall or Costco or the park in shoes that are too big. You get home and your feet are a bloody mess of blisters. Now imagine you're an amputee like Ed here, and this is happening to your leg. It is so painful you are wheelchair bound until the blisters heal, and you wake up every morning afraid they'll get infected, leading to successive amputation. This is called poor socket fit, and it affects all 50 million amputees around the world. Ed's leg actually changes size throughout the day and in the long term, leading to chafing and pain in his rigid socket. Current sockets rely on Ed to know when and how to adjust his socket fit. He has to regularly remove his socket and add a sock underneath to make up for his shrinking leg. The constant adjustments are frustrating, and the concept is difficult to grasp and maintain. Ultimately, many lower limb amputees will just stop using their prosthesis altogether. Thankfully, Vessl has a unique solution. Our isoform socket is the only socket that automatically adjusts as Ed's leg shrinks and swells. It does not rely on sensors to sense pressure on the leg. Rather, there are mechanical components that store potential energy and slowly release it into those adjustable panels on the socket to maintain a comfortable fit. The level of pressure is set by the prosthetist during the fitting of the prosthesis, since each socket is custom made to the amputee. The prosthetist uses the same workflow as usual, measuring the amputee's residual leg and sending those measurements to a central fabrication site for manufacturing. With isoform, Ed avoids the pressure extremes that often lead to blisters, so he can walk around all day comfortably. He only visits his prosthetist when he needs a new prosthetic leg, so prosthetists can retain their patients while spending their time on billable events. And we're entering a very attractive market where every 30 seconds, a leg is amputated around the world. For our flagship product, our total addressable market is the global prosthetics market, which is $6.6 billion and growing. Diabetes is seeing 16% growth in just 5 years, a major driving force behind this market growth. Based on the 1.5 million Americans with below the knee amputations, our serviceable addressable market is $1.5 billion. The American market is being driven by an intense demand for prosthetists, whose employment growth is twice the national average. With our flagship product, our serviceable obtainable market is $745 million, accounting for amputees' eligibility for a prosthetic socket and the frequency with which they're eligible for a new one. This represents our beachhead market, and based on comparable companies, we can expect to obtain 5% of that market. We have filed a provisional patent around our technology, protecting all methods of automatic passive volume adjustment. Our legal team is confident that our broad claims will protect our technology and that prior art still gives us the freedom to operate. While our provisional patent was filed in the United States, we plan to file a PCT application and full US application by the end of this year. Our PCT filing gives us the time to examine which jurisdictions are most advantageous in which to file full application. Our isoform socket comes out on top when compared to 3 competitor categories because of our automatic adjustments that occur passively. Manually adjusting sockets rely on constant manual operation, leaving the burden of socket adjustment on the amputee. They are inaccessible to amputees with poor dexterity or sensation loss. Bionic sockets are stuck in research and development, remaining too costly, bulky, and heavy to be clinically relevant, as we've heard from several prosthetists. Traditional sockets are static, so they rely on prosthetic sock for volume management, which is frustrating and inconvenient to manage. Isoform's automatic adjustments make comfort accessible to the masses. Without disrupting prosthetists' workflow, Isoform reduces the number of appointments they spend on socket fit management, appointments which are poorly reimbursed. Prosthetists can use existing healthcare codes to cover the isoform socket, while competitors add fabrication time and costs, cutting into clinics' profits. With increased comfort comes increased wear time and mobility, all with fewer clinic visits, saving amputees and prosthetists time and money. Vessl operates in a business-to-business model with a global plan, but starting in the United States. We will manufacture by partnering with central fabrication sites to whom prosthetists are familiar outsourcing. Our cost of goods sold are $400. We will sell our socket to prosthetists first through our own sales force and then through distributors as we expand. Prosthetists only want to spend 30% of their revenue on materials and labor for socket fabrication, which is one of the factors we included when determining our selling price. Then prosthetists are reimbursed through insurance using existing CPT codes. The socket payment is a one-time fee, but amputees are eligible for a socket replacement every 3 years or by recommendation from their doctor, which supports a recurring revenue model. To go to market, we have already started engaging with the Veterans Affairs and will use their 2% market share and uniquely strong funding model to enter the industry. We have an in with them through the Innovation Network, but we'll also be meeting leading VA executives at the Medical Health Science Research Symposium that the military hosts annually. Shortly after, we will sell into the Hanger distribution network, which represents almost a quarter of all clinics. Hanger and the VA have a long-standing relationship. So as our relationship with the VA strengthens, our adoption into Hanger becomes easier. We will also meet with Hanger at leading prosthetic conferences, including AOPA in September. Together, these large distribution channels will give us the resources and foundation to sell into smaller networks and then individual clinics. To support our sales efforts, we will build brand awareness at conferences and trade shows. We will attract champions and early adopters through clinical partnerships, and we will target leads through direct sales. We've achieved significant milestones since incorporating. We began engaging with the Veterans Affairs, working with prosthetists and amputees at 5 of their healthcare centers on product validation. We met with the prosthetists virtually to ask questions about the clinical viability of our design and to validate our assumptions. And by the end of this year, we will send our socket to participating centers to obtain their feedback on the physical prototype. We've raised a pre-seed round and to date have secured over $1 million Canadian in dilutive and non-dilutive funding combined. We have spent the funds in 4 key areas: product development, voice of customer, intellectual property strategy, and market research. More recently, we started the Techstars Physical Health Fort Worth Accelerator to secure strategic partnerships in the United States and expand our network. We are using our current funds to finish our minimum viable product so that it can be tried by amputees. In the new year, we will begin our seed raise and apply for our medical device license to prepare for commercialization. We are an FDA Class 1 medical device, which means registration should take about a month. We do not require clinical trials to go to market, but prosthetists do like to see clinical data. So we will perform clinical studies before and after we commercialize. We are asking for a $2 million seed raise to conduct clinical case studies and launch our product in the United States. This raise will last us about 18 months and get us to revenue generation. Then we will raise a Series A to scale. For the clinical study, our goal is to test the comfort and function of the isoform socket with 30 amputees. This study will take about 4 months for recruitment, 2 months to complete, and 2 months to review the data. We are in discussions with several academic centers and prosthetic clinics with whom we can partner for the study. Prosthetists have told us which test to perform so that the information gathered is relevant to their decision-making process. Mergers and acquisitions are also common in the prosthetics market to expose the parent company to the industry or for vertical integration. They are typically from large manufacturers or clinic networks looking once companies are generating revenue and offer multiple products. While we are building a sustainable company, if we are given a reasonable offer, we will exit via acquisition. One way that we're building a sustainable company is by partnering with these large manufacturers for research collaborations. Based on the number of sockets each prosthetist in our pipeline will purchase, we estimate our 5-year revenue to be $39 million, reaching 5% of our serviceable obtainable market. Our costs will decrease as we partner with large central fabrication sites for manufacturing. They will also decrease when we release the kit version of our socket solution, which prosthetists can use in-house to fabricate the sockets. To date, we have 23 clinics in our pipeline, servicing 7,500 below-knee amputees, and are focused on converting those initial conversations to committed orders. Based on comparable companies and the strategic partnerships we're establishing, an exit is likely to occur in 2026 with a median value multiple of 12 times. And we have the team to make all this happen. My skills as a biomedical engineer and my co-founder's skills as a clinical anatomist are complemented by Trey's successful business exits. Our academic backgrounds have taught us end user design, research, and prototyping skills. Alexi and I have each built research products from the ground up, securing our own funding and developing our own outcome measures. We've also surrounded ourselves with leading experts in prosthetics and company generation to guide Vessl to success. Our advisors include Ben, a certified prosthetist with a background in biomaterials engineering and varied clinical experience, including Shriners Hospital. Trey, a serial entrepreneur with a dozen successful exits, and the managing director of the Techstars Physical Health Fort Worth program. And Jim, whose new products have generated nearly $1 billion in sales and who's named on 14 patents. In summary, Vessl is the only company solving poor socket fit with a unique solution. Prosthetists and amputees say this is the largest problem in prosthetics and that our solution is needed. Our proprietary technology allows the socket to adapt to the leg, thereby reducing discomfort. So we are addressing $1 billion market opportunity with a low-risk device. Please join us in helping amputees like Ed get reliably back on their feet. Thank you.
Great job, Sydney. And you were 11 minutes and 30 seconds about. So beautiful timing.
Thank
That
you
was
so much.
fabulous. Thank you.
Do you want me to stop
Okay.
sharing for the feedback portion?
Yeah, I think that's great. Always good to see your face on full versus the screen. Okay, so we'll invite some feedback. Maureen, why don't we start with you?
Nice pitch, Sydney. Pretty cool product. One that, of course, we don't always think about. You talked about the diabetic market and the veterans market. Is the veterans market like much bigger than the diabetic market?
No, the diabetic is much larger, but the Veterans Affairs, because they have a lot of money that, especially in the United States, that they can dedicate to their veterans, that's one of the reasons why we really want to target them.
Okay, get that. What about the FDA approval process? Where are you in that?
So we are a class 1 medical device, which means that the approval process is relatively light. So we are at the beginning phases. What we did was we got a regulatory consultant to give us a justification document for why we are a class 1 medical device. And then all we need to do in the United States is register for that. So again, it should take about a month to do, but we are making sure that we're getting our documentation ready to make sure we're ready for that registration.
Okay. And your sales projections are huge, 38 million in 5 years, gradually going up to there. I think it might be good to mention how you're going to build your sales force.
Thank you. I'll do that.
Yeah.
That's
good
a great
presentation.
insight. Thank you. Thank you, Maureen. That's a great insight. I can mention that.
Okay, Jennifer, you're up.
All right, that was a great presentation, super clear on what you're doing. I had a couple of questions. One was around the manufacturing process. So do you have different size sockets for like kids, women, large men? And how many different sizes?
Yeah, so the way that we're doing it is the socket has to be custom fit per amputee. So it's not really a size thing. We're just trying to fit our way into the fabrication process that prosthetists are already used to using. So they'll keep it the same for the sockets, custom made. That kind of piece that you saw at the bottom that pumps, that's really where our innovation comes in. And that can be mass manufactured. So for that, we'll do kind of a small, medium, large sizing so that it can fit onto the bottom of the socket. And connect to the rest of the components.
So do you only sell that piece?
We'll sell the socket as a whole component, but we'll need a separate manufacturing for that bottom device.
Okay, so just to understand then, so from a manufacturing perspective, you would need to manufacture the upper portion per amputee?
Yes.
So that's a completely custom. And then the lower portion is semi-cut. There's a general sizing, not a specific sizing.
Exactly.
It would be, I think from your presentation, it would be good to explain a little bit more about that manufacturing process, because a lot of from an investment perspective, people will be looking at your cost of manufacturing,
right,
and how that scales. Okay. So it sounds like you're going to have two different scalability One is around the bottom piece and
Mhm.
how you scale that manufacturing, and then on the custom portion, how you scale that. So that when you're doing, 35 million in revenue, how are you producing that many custom sockets?
That's a great point. And is that something that I should talk about in kind of the solution side? Does that fit really well into the kind of business to business?
I think that's more on the business side. How you're like, do you have a plan on how you're going to scale that custom portion?
Okay, I can put that in there.
Is there a way, if you're getting 1,000 orders a month, yeah, how you're fulfilling 1,000 custom prosthetic orders a month? And then just
Absolutely.
understand as well on that physical device. So you would connect to any type of leg. So if I was a runner and I wanted a blade leg,
Yep.
or if I want one that looks more like a real leg, you
Absolutely.
any of those? It's a
Yes.
standard. Okay.
You can think about it like Lego blocks. So the socket part that connects to the leg has a standard connector that connects to the pylon, which is kind of the shaft part, which connects to a foot. So prosthetists can already kind of pick and choose which manufacturer they want to use for each of those. And we're just going to slot ourselves right into that process so that we can be easily integrated with what already exists and not have another barrier to entry.
Okay. And this might be me not paying attention. Do you do both above the knee and below the knee amputation?
We're going to start with below the knee amputations. There's more of those folks and they feel this problem really acutely.
Yeah.
And then we'll move to above the knee, and then we'll move pediatric specific.
Okay. So you're starting in the adult market and then.
We are. I'm actually having conversations with a pediatric hospital here in Texas to better understand if we can roll out to children right away. There's an added feature that we want when we make a pediatric version, which is adjustment vertically, since kids get taller. So we'd like to create that. But I want to have that conversation to see, can we still sell it to them right now and just have that as like an added feature in kind of version 2 specifically to pediatrics? That's something I'm in conversations with right now.
Okay. And I'm assuming the amputee market is, substantially larger in the adult market. That the diabetic amputees are primarily adults, and of course the veterans are adults.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Perfect. Maureen, anything else to ask?
I do have another question. As you move from the veterans market to the diabetic market, will you have to adjust your pricing? Because I understand that like the diabetic market is a different socioeconomic segment, maybe. What do you think about that?
That's a great question. And you're right. It's a very low socioeconomic status group. So are veterans. The reason that we think veterans would be a great early adopter is because they get better coverage. So we don't anticipate having to change our pricing. We are making our pricing as accessible to the prosthetists themselves and the end users as possible. We want to come in very comparable to our competitors, but outperforming them in the device capabilities.
That's a good strategy.
Thank you.
Yeah. I just still, so you think you're, I guess my question would also lead to, is US healthcare coverage, is it going to cover this kind of thing at this price point?
It actually is more favorable than the Canadian coverage, unfortunately. So on the American side, they have multiple CPT codes that they can stack in order to get reimbursement. And so they're actually able to get more reimbursement for a wider variety of devices than we can in Canada. So in Canada, it's different province to province, but for Ontario, they have the assistive devices program, and it only reimburses up to 75% of the device. And that's only for basic devices. So there's actually no adjustable sockets that are available in Canada right now. It's another reason why we're targeting the United States first, is to develop a presence there, put a little bit of pressure on the Canadians to change that rule, and then kind of keep applying for that in Canada.
Okay. Yeah. Well thought out.
Thank you.
Beautiful. Okay. We're going to end feedback there. That was fabulous. Thank you so much, Maureen and Jennifer. Deb, I didn't ask you as your Sydney's coach, but I'm sure you two will have lots of chat about afterwards. Is there anything you'd like to just say?
I would. I want to just
Okay,
mention
sure.
that Sydney didn't mention, I won't go into the coaching aspects or commentary. We'll have lots to chat, like you said. You did a fantastic job. I'm going to have to ask that you slow down for people like me, because you're so it's almost like you're so competent, so fast, so direct that. And I think I had this issue with a person that I coached a couple years ago, and the clarity and the determination comes through. So you could slow down a little. We can work on that, but it's not the biggest issue at all. I wanted to mention that Sydney was doing this She Boot program at the same time as Techstars, while also trying to develop this, what would you call it, the clinical relationship partnership stuff that's going on. The world around her right now is incredible. For her to sit down and be able to make this a clear presentation like she did is kind of mind-boggling to me. She's not complaining about all the stuff that's happening around her. She's taking full advantage. So I got to commend you on that, Sydney. It's quite a lot.
Thank you, Deb. Thank you. That's very thoughtful. I appreciate that.
Fabulous. And on that note, Sydney, we know you do have to jump off, so I know you're going to try and log in to listen, but if you have to exit, no problem at all. I'm going to stop the recording. And Lou, if you want to just bring up your presentation. Thank you so much, Sydney.
Thank you all so much for the feedback. That was fantastic. I learned a lot, and I'm really excited to look back again and review. So thanks again.